Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a bow, which I didn't actually have in my files. I had to actually borrow it from a member of the community, so thank you very much. This is the Widowmaker Ward Bow, and it is a very interesting bow that has some very interesting effects. And let's go over it together, and then we'll talk about what it could potentially be good for, as well as we will go over and see, where we could find this bow if we potentially wanted to look for it. So right off the bat, when we look at this bow, we have 59 to 157 damage. It's decent. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst, it's decent. We have 146 dexterity requirement, which is relatively high. We also have 72 strength requirement, which is not very high at all. And then we have a level requirement of 65. This bow does have a fast attack speed on it, but it does decrease, I think, on some other characters, because each character has their own specific attack speed with bows. We have Fire's Magic Arrows, and this is actually level 11. And I know it doesn't say level 11, but it is actually level 11. And Magic Arrows provides 1% physical damage to magic damage conversion per level. So it is going to be 11% magic damage. Now, they did recently upgrade Magic Arrow in the 2.4 patch, which is coming soon. And I think it's important to note that the Magic Arrow will be a little bit more conversion than 11%. I think they actually upped it by an extra 1%. So I think what it is now is instead of being 11%, I believe it's 22%, which is quite a big bump in damage. But it doesn't actually add any damage, though. That's the kind of silly part. Magic Arrows as a skill does add a little bit to your physical damage. It's like +1, +2 per level, which is not a huge bonus, but the conversion from your physical to the magical can be very useful to kill physical immunes. So keep that in mind. We also have 197% enhanced damage on this one, which is only 3% off of the maximum, which is 200%. It does roll as low as 150%, though. So we got a 50% variance on the enhanced damage there. So if you are looking for this particular bow, you want to find this particular bow in a good condition, there are a couple variables. So pay attention, and we'll see if we can get you a perfect one, shall we? We also have ignores target's defense on this, which is pretty amazing in and of itself, because if you're using this on a character that's not an Amazon, you might not have any type of skills to increase your attack rating, and being able to fire magic arrows that also ignore target's defense means that they're going to hit every single time you fire them. ITD, however, does not work on bosses. So you have to keep that in mind. But it will make it so that basically you will hit just about every single target. It's a little bit more complicated than just simply I'm going to hit. Basically, the attack rating formula is your level versus the monster's level, plus the attack rating needed to hit him, plus his defense. It's a whole formula. And basically all ignores target's defense does is it takes attack rating out of the formula. If you're attacking a monster that is still way higher level than you, there's a very good chance you're going to miss. And unfortunately, attack rating level difference does not display on the character screen, which is one of the many reasons why it's called the lying character screen. We also have 33% chance of deadly strike, which is of course great, because not only are you going to hit your targets every single time, as long as it's not a boss, you're also going to deal double damage 33% of the time, which is going to basically double your physical damage 33% of the time when you fire. And it can be stacked with critical strike, which basically how it works is critical strike will roll first, and if it fails, then deadly strike will roll. You cannot get 4 times. It's only 2 times, but it is very nice to have both, believe it or not, because you do get a very nice benefit from having both. It increases the chance that you're going to have a successful proc. Now we come to the real meat and potatoes of this item, and that is the +5 guided arrow. So what this does is it actually gives you the skill guided arrow. You can use this on an Amazon and it will give you guided arrow, but any bow that has plus guided arrow on it will give you guided arrow. I have one right here on this particular Amazon. Oh, no, actually that's my other Amazon. I have one on my other Amazon, which is a little bit different, and it gives me +5 +3 to guided arrow, Amazon only. Now, if you were to put that bow on like a paladin or a sorceress or something, you would not get guided arrow. But with this particular bow, it will actually give you the skill. And for that reason, because I already have guided arrow, I'm going to take it over to another character. But I did want to show you guys and gals one thing before I went over to another character. And that is that when you already have the skill, when you're an Amazon, this bow does not give you +5. Notice that when I swap over to the bow, I actually end up with only +3. Any item that actually physically gives the skill to you, not just giving you plus to skills, but actually physically gives you the skill, only applies as a +3 on the native user of the item. I don't know why they decided to do this, but as you can see, I'm level 13, and if I take off the bow, I am only level 10. So we need to talk about what this bow could be useful for, who could potentially get the most use out of it, and why. Let's go over to another character and we'll take a look at what we can do with it. So here we are on a Paladin. And one of the very interesting things that you can do on a Paladin is you can build a character revolving around Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, or Holy Shock, which I don't actually have. But the general idea here is that you have an ability like this that applies elemental damage. And your goal is to apply that elemental damage in a way that cannot be ignored. By giving yourself guided arrow, as you can see, I literally have level 7 guided arrow. I can now fire off guided arrows off into the distance and hit targets who would otherwise I would be unable to hit completely. I also have a magic arrow, which I could utilize if I want to, but I don't really see the point in using the magic arrows over the guided arrows. Honestly, the guided arrows are always going to hit anyway. They're also always going to hit bosses. And the very interesting thing about guided arrow is that it is just an amazing way to apply elemental damage. Now, who all could utilize an elemental damage application like this? What characters could get the most benefit out of the ability to essentially apply any elemental damage they have in a way that is completely unblockable, right? Because guided arrow always hits. There's nothing that they can do except for block it. And if you think about it, it's elemental damage characters. So if I'm an enchant sorceress, which granted, a demon machine may be the better choice for an enchant sorceress because it has explosive arrows on it. But if you're looking for a way to apply a guaranteed hit, this can definitely be an interesting choice. You could have Demon Machine on one hand, and you could have the Widowmaker Ward Bow on the other. If you were a Tesladin using Dream and Dragon armors, if you were specifically a Tesladin who's actually had the native skill on your character, you could have Max Tesla. Sorry, Max Holy Shock. Max Tesla. You could have Max Holy Shock. You could have the Max Synergies for Holy Shock. And then you could be firing a bow from a distance to apply that massive amount of damage. You could then also maybe throw in something like a 4-socket armor with 4 lightning facets in it. Or maybe you could use Griswolds with 4 lightning facets. Three lightning facets, sorry, and Griswolds. And that's kind of the trade-off, right? You could either go with a 4-socket, like Jeweler's Plate of the Whale or something with 4 lightning facets, which are pretty rare. Or you could just simply get a Griswold and throw 3 lightning facets in that. It's all a very interesting experiment in doing things a very interesting way. Another character that can actually get good use out of this is a Venom Assassin. So Venom Assassins also might want a very interesting way to apply their high poison damage, and being able to guided arrow off the screen. Essentially, what you can do is you can actually play your Venom Assassin kind of like this, and just sort of fire at the edge of the range of PvP. And you notice that I'm still hitting the targets anyway. Of course, right now I'm fighting cold immunes, so let me switch over to Holy Fire. And as you can see, I'm at least guaranteed these hits. The other interesting thing is that not only can you apply elemental damage, but bows also apply things like Crushing Blow off of Gore Riders, the Open Wounds effect, Also Deadly Strike. All three of these effects can be procced on the bow, as well as Prevent Monster Heal. So if you were rocking, I know I say rocking a lot, don't I? You guys have been making fun of me about that lately. I don't care. If you were rocking a decent amount of Crushing Blow and Open Wounds, you could apply those to the target from a very large distance, and you could also guarantee that those hits would come into effect. Like, say, for instance, you were going to do Ubers. This could actually be a very interesting way to guarantee hits on the Ubers so that you could apply your Open Wounds. Especially if you're doing it in a team, one person could just simply stack up as much Crushing Blow and Open Wounds as possible on his character and use a Ward Bow and just sit in the back and fire. And then the other person could focus on adds or damage or whatever it is that they need to do. Guided Arrow is an absolutely amazing ability for a guaranteed hit, whether it's PvE, whether it's PvP. It doesn't really matter, because even in PvP, if you fire one of these at somebody and they don't have like 75% chance to block, there's a very good chance that it's going to hit them. If they have no shield, there is pretty much a 100% chance it's going to hit them, with only a few exceptions. Amazon dodges, dodge, void, and evade, and the Assassin Claw Block. So those are the only really ways that this guided arrow can actually miss, technically. Even though technically it doesn't miss, it's just deflected or blocked or avoided, so to speak. And all in all, I think that the Widowmaker Ward Bow is one of those bows that should definitely make it into your arsenal if you are a character who utilizes a high amount of elemental damage. If you're a Tesladin, if you are a Dragon Din, if you're a Holy Friezadin, if you're an Enchant Sorceress, if you are a Venom Assassin, all of these can be extremely effective for you. Even if you're just a melee character who has massive amounts of Crushing Blow from his equipment and not from his weapon and shield, if you happen to have a massive amount of Crushing Blow and Open Wounds, you can very easily have a Widowmaker Ward Bow on your offhand, swap to it, fire a couple shots, guarantee your Open Wounds and your Crushing Blow hit, and I mean, it's going to do pretty amazing damage by applying those effects. Now, of course, once the monster's HP goes down and the Crushing Blow has the diminishing returns, it's not going to do as well, but it can still be used as a guaranteed way to apply your Open Wounds. I do feel like it's important, though, that we talk about the reduced effectiveness of Crushing Blow versus ranged weapons. So melee weapons have 25% of the monster's HP and damage, current HP, not max. It's 10% on players, and it's 12.5% on bosses. Missile weapons get a half damage penalty for Crushing Blow. So instead of 25% on all monsters, it's 12.5%. Instead of 10% on PvP players, it's 5%, and instead of 12.5% on bosses, it's 6.5%, so do keep that in mind. There is a sort of a penalty for applying these effects for range damage, and you know, rightfully so, because having an attack that is guaranteed to apply your effect, essentially, like if you were rocking, you know, 100% Crushing Blow and 100% Open Wounds, and you fire this arrow, it's going to pretty much guarantee hit the monster. So you've got pretty much a 100% chance of getting that effect off, which is absolutely amazing. Guaranteed hit effects are relatively rare in the world of Diablo. Guided Arrow is one of them. Smite is another one, so that's 2. And then in 2.4, we are going to be getting Impale for the first time, is going to have a guaranteed hit on it. So they're trying to beef up Impale, and they did beef it up quite considerably over what it was, but I still feel like they need to go a little bit further with it. But all in all, there's only 3 abilities in the entire game that will guarantee hits, and the Amazon has 2 of them now, and the Paladin has 1. But this bow kind of evens the playing field because it gives everyone the ability to use at least one of the guaranteed hits in the game, which is Guided Arrow. Now let's take a look and see where we could potentially find this if we wanted to. And the website I like to do this on is called Silos Pen. And we're going to go over there, we're going to take a look and see what we can find. Alright, so here we are on Silos Pen, and we're going to assume players 1. We're going to assume party size 1. We're going to assume a magic find of at least 150%. We're going to go to bosses first, and then we're going to look for the Widowmaker Bow. The Widowmaker Bow should be on here. Oh, we need to go to unique item. The Widowmaker. But as you can see here, not a lot of options. In Hell difficulty only, Bale, Diablo, Neelathak, and the Defilers. That is a really bad list. Bale and Diablo do have a pretty good chance of dropping it. Neelathak not so much at 1 in 8,708, but certainly better than the Defilers, which have a chance of 1 in like 1 million. You know, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 1,129,000. The Defilers have a chance to drop like every item in the game, by the way. It's one of the reasons why their probabilities are so bad. If you do have high magic find and you're running through Worldstone Keep, I would recommend that you kill these Defilers, because the Defilers do have a chance to drop like every single item in the game. I know that the probability is really high there, but think about the fact that they can literally drop every item in the game, so of course the probability is going to be rare. Like, imagine a giant-sized gumball machine, like literally just massive, and every single time you put a quarter in, it like shakes the entire thing up and like randomizes it. Of course there's going to be a very bad % chance that you're going to get exactly what you want, but there's still a high % chance that you're going to get something. So to keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the super uniques next. And let's arrange those by probability. So it looks like Neelathak is still the best there, but we've got Frozenstein at 1 in 12,000 and Pindleskin at 1 in 12,000. Pindleskin is relatively easy to get to. I would definitely say that's a good choice for farming this particular bow. We also have Thresh Socket, Doc Farron, Eldritch the Rectifier, Shank the Overseer. All those are really easy to get to and a relatively good chance. Hephaesto the Armorer, also a pretty good chance. Don't underestimate Hephaesto. I think he's a pretty good magic find source. I've been hearing a lot of people tell me they find some really nice items off of him. So so I would say that's probably a really good combination there. Farm Hephaesto real quick, then go and teleport down through the siege zone, kill Doc Farron. Go ahead and teleport to the end of the siege zone, kill Shank, then teleport up to the waypoint area and kill Eldritch the Rectifier, and then you can also teleport all the way down to the end of Frigid Highlands and kill Thresh Socket, and that's a really nice little combo there. And of course you can also finish off Pindleskin as well. So you got Pindleskin, Thresh Socket, Doc Farron, Eldritch the Rectifier, Shank the Overseer, and Hephaesto the Armorer, and then you could run those over and over again, and you'd probably end up with this bow relatively quickly. Well, that pretty much covers this bow. It's a very interesting bow, and it does have some very interesting uses. If you do happen to find one of these bows, I would definitely say hold on to it. I don't know if I said this or not. Just to make sure, the guided arrow, which is +5, does vary from, I believe it's 3 to 5. Let me just double check that. I just don't remember saying it, and so I want to make sure that I say it before the video ends. It's level 3 to level 5. So if you were going to try and find a perfect one of these, what you would be looking for is a 200% enhanced with +5 guided arrow. And that's literally all you need. Everything else on it is pretty static, and you don't have to worry about it too much. You can, of course, also socket this, and a Shale Rune is probably going to be your best bet for this, mainly because the majority of the use case scenarios for this bow involve an elemental damage attack, which is applying a pretty massive amount of lightning or fire or cold or poison damage, right? So you're not too much worried about the physical damage as you are worried about the speed. You want the speed of the bow to be faster so that you're applying your elemental damage quicker. And that's really all that matters. At any rate, I feel like I've gone on long enough for this particular bow, 19 minutes. Wow, I'm a little bit more long-winded than normal. As always, thank you for watching, and keep watching.